Hey everyone, it's Matt from Akuma Mods. Today we have a how-to tutorial on replacing your LCD screen on the Nova3D Elfin resin printer. So just to give you an idea of why we need to change this, I'm going to go ahead and do a LCD screen check. And I'll turn off the lights here so you guys can see it glow. So as you can see, there is quite a few spots on that screen. Pretty much that screen is useless. Now, I have been printing with this, like this screen, even though it has some issues with it, but I've been just kind of working around it until I got a replacement, which I have right here from Nova themselves. Very nicely packaged. One downside I will say is it seems like it's more proprietary to the Nova. So if you're thinking about maybe buying an Elegoo Mars or an Anycubic Photon screen or any other type of 5.5 inch screen, you're probably going to be out of luck, because it seems the way that the Nova is set up, it's specifically designed for this, which that happens from time to time. So anyway, it's pretty easy installation. So what we're going to go and do is take off the power supply here. We're going to flip the printer onto its bottom. And we do have 3 screw holes. 1, 2, 3. Well, they're Allen screw holes. We're going to take our bigger Allen key. We're going to take this out. One, two, and number 3. We're going to go ahead and pop the bottom off of the printer. Make sure you have all your screws together. So this exposes the inside of it. What you're going to do, unfortunately I'm not going to be able to really show this on screen, but on one of these boards inside of here, you're going to see the little ribbon cable for the LCD screen. Let's see exactly where this is. That's the LCD itself. Okay. So on the outside wall, it'll be the side where the USB ports and the Ethernet jack is. There is a LCD ribbon cable strip, and it is held on by some clear tape, at least mine is. You don't necessarily have to reapply that tape, but it's nice to always have that extra adhesion to it to make sure that it stays on there. Okay, so now we have that disconnected. Hope you guys can see inside there, but basically we disconnected it from this piece right here, and now it's just kind of hanging willy-nilly in there. So that way, once we go to pull out the screen, it'll be super easy to get it out. So now we're going to flip it back up on its top side. We're going to use a smaller Allen key, and we're going to take out, there's 6 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And once we take that out, this top will come right off, and we can replace the screen. Now you can do this with or without gloves, it's up to you. I know some people are kind of finicky about touching the LCD screen and getting it all dirty. I'm not too worried about that. I have some really nice cleaner. So once you pull this off, you just pull it with the 2 tabs right there, and that'll expose our LCD screen. And that's pretty much all we need to get to. So it's just gonna pop right off. Okay, and the ribbon cable is gonna come through this little slot here. Just pull it right out. And like I said, it looks like it might be proprietary to it because of the way that the design is for it. I'm not sure if this LCD slides out or you can just kind of replace it. It doesn't look like it. It looks like it's kind of molded in there. So, yeah, from what it looks like, you're not going to be able to just swap lenses out of here, unfortunately. Kind of a downside, but also kind of a good side because that makes it very unique. So again, we have the replacement screen right here from Nova. Toss that out. And we're just going to go ahead and slip that. Actually, you know what? We're going to go ahead and clean this up a little bit because there's some leftover residue, or resin, I should say, on the edges here. So we'll give the time to clean up a little bit here in case anything is spilled inside. Most of this stuff is already dried up. Okay. So again, we're going to put it right inside that slot there, and we're just going to let it drip right down. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bring this up and we're going to fold the corners in so we can get this this entire bezel back on. Okay. So now that that's back on, we're going to go ahead and put the 6 screws back in. I don't really think that there's a specific way to do that. It's not like, you know, it needs to go in any specific direction, but I usually do some sort of a crisscross pattern, so that's how I've always been taught when I put something together and it's got multiple different things on it. So and you want to be careful to not over tighten these because these screws can strip out with this Allen key. Because the Allen keys that are usually provided have this little ball nub on the bottom of it, and they're not machined very well. They're just kind of, you know, machined lightly, and they tend to strip out very well. So you might have to end up using the actual regular head to tighten all these down if you're worried about it. But hand tight is good enough. You don't have to like super tighten them up like other stuff. So like here. We don't have to tighten that down. Okay, so we're going to flip this back over. And then we're going to go ahead and hook that back into that LCD board, which for the most part, once it's all set in there, it's pretty much already lined up for you. You just have to, you know, push it up in there a little bit and then push it down onto the connector piece. But for the most part, it's lined up pretty well for you. So you don't have to be struggling with it like some of these LCD replacements are. Thankfully, this one's pretty easy compared to the ones that I have had to do. Like on the Elegoo Mars or the Anycubic Photon. As I say that, I'm fiddling around with the connector on this. Some reason I can't just line this up easily. Well, this was supposed to be a real short video, but looks like we're going to take some time doing this. All right, so we are all set there. Looks like everything's ready to rock and roll now. So we're going to go ahead and put this back on. Make sure that the orientation is correct. You want to put the fan on top of the fan because otherwise you're going to obstruct the airflow of the printer. And that's definitely one of the nice things about this printer is that the fans are insanely quiet. So quiet that I worry about if it's even working at times. So, legitimately, for like the first week I was printing with this, I wasn't sure if the fans were even working. So I'm just loosely putting them in until I get all of them in. So that way when we go to tighten them all up, they're all going to be already in their respected holes and ready to go. Okay. All right, so now that we got that all done and over with, we're going to take off our screen protector and we're going to add some power to it and verify that it is working. Okay, we'll let that boot up. Now, if you want to test this out and then put the bottom back on, that's perfectly fine. You can do it that way too. But for the most part, you should be able to get that connector on and it should be ready to rock and roll. All right, so we're going to go over to System Settings. Already, we are on the LCD screen check. So we're going to turn off the lights and I'll glow. Hopefully to the extreme. Boom, screen test. All right. There's number 1. Number 2. All right. We have a working screen. Very simple. So I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of insight, the reason why I had to do this at such an early point. The fact is I had, I'm just going to use this as an example. I basically had the vat here, and if you know anything about the Nova, that's got these little slits right here. And the vat actually slides right in there. Well, the problem is if you put it in the wrong way and you go to lock this, you could still lift it up. Well, that was the problem, and basically I ended up putting it in here, and I had a long print. I set it to print, came back a couple hours later. I saw the print was all zigzaggy, lines everywhere, and most of it was ended up in the vat. And so I go to take a look at it, and I realized that the vat was lifting up and then just slamming back down on the glass. So it started on this corner because that was the worst corner out of all of it. And I knew it came up out of here because it actually came up out of the little track area here. So I was like, all right, well, I'm probably going to have an issue with that. And sure enough, I tested it out. And thankfully, it stayed just in this little corner. I printed for a little bit, maybe about another 6 or 7 prints, and it was still pretty good. And then at about the 8th or 9th, somewhere in between there, some more bubbles started to happen because it started to fail internally from the adhesion of the glass. So yeah, that's basically what happened. But for the most part, you shouldn't have to be replacing this really anytime soon. These usually have about 400 hours of work time, give or take, depending on your use and, you know, your abuse on the system. So I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you guys want to see more videos like this and learn more about resin printing, and I do have some gaming stuff on this channel too, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and you know, you can be notified whenever I put out a new video if you hit that notification bell. And you know, basically anything that you guys can support, that would be great. We got a review video on the Nova coming up, and hope you guys enjoy it, so stay tuned. Until next time, happy printing.